Hiya, and welcome back to Moonlight Castle. The game that teaches us that... This game emotionally punches us in the testicles every single update. Anyways, let's just hop right in. You gotta go through the extra menu. Okay, to start the game from a route, additional information is required. Enter a name. What is our name? Actually, what happens if we put in whole? Damn. Please provide the following information. From which branch of the route would you like to start the game? Let's start it from branch A. We want all the affinity. The necessary configuration is complete. The game is being started from your chosen route. I'm just gonna... I held his head into my arms and felt his weak warmth spread across my paws. What the fuck happened? I gently caressed his face with my thumbs. The pained expression he was wearing told me he was still fighting. I leaned forward, placing my forehead against his and listened to his labored breathing. Oh shit. This was a nightmare and we were both living it. I reassured him, encouraged him. Clyde had told me to talk to him, to make sure Ryan heard my voice. But I didn't know what to say. My thoughts were trapped in my throat and nothing was coming out. Most of them were generic, vague stuff people would say to cheer anyone up. But I cared for him. He deserved to hear my real thoughts. To hear something personal that connected us both. And he also deserved to hear the bad thoughts. The terrible things he had done that I couldn't share. I wanted him back. I wanted answers, and it wasn't fair of Ryan to do this to us. Please, don't give up. Come back to me. My tears fell onto his face, and almost out of shame, I quickly wiped them off. Now it looked like he had been crying instead. What happened to him? His question was met with more silence. I never did tell Liam to keep this whole thing a secret. He was entitled to let everyone know if he wanted to, but he chose to stay quiet. Russell? The group defaulted to his partner, who began discussing the slime monster they had encountered. So, in the end, the blame was given to that creature. No! No! They're blaming Mr. Blorbo! The rest was a blur for me. Exactly! We arrived at the hospital. Some stayed by my side while the rest called for help along with Liam. It didn't take them long to come and admit Ryan. I just followed them inside, and as we walked through those hallways, I held his paw. Until I wasn't allowed to anymore. They asked me to wait outside, so there I stood in front of that door, feeling powerless and numb. I reluctantly walked up to a chair and seated myself.
Hey.
I looked up and acknowledged him. Then I found myself staring at the floor again. I just didn't have the strength to fight against gravity. Where are the others?
There were 7 of us. You didn't seriously believe they let us all in.
I didn't say that. I wasn't thinking at all. Just wanted to know where they were.
Waiting at the reception desk.
I see.
I told the doctors that Ryan had suffered food poisoning, maybe from too much alcohol.
My eyes widened. Hearing him say that only dug the knife deeper into my chest. What? That wasn't true at all!
We were out camping, having fun, and you must have drank one too many bottles.
I thought I'd go insane. That's not what happened.
Am I supposed to be honest, then?
It was a dumb question that didn't need an answer. I knew what he was doing. It was obvious he couldn't tell them the truth. No.
This isn't the kind of sickness standard medicine can resolve. But they have the tools to keep his body alive. That's what matters here.
His soul was damaged, and without it, he can't wake up. Then shouldn't we bring Ryan to a medium that can...
I can't do that.
Tears welled up again. That quick response pushed me to raise my head and look into his eyes.
If the PMC hears of this, that I involved innocent civilians in such a suicidal mission, he'll have my head by tomorrow.
Is there nothing we can do?
Fuck! Damn it!
I think Liam is trying to say that if they find out that innocent civilians were involved in what is essentially a suicide mission, he won't be kicked out. His reputation won't be ruined. He'll be killed. Most likely within the hour. He will get killed. So it's like, they're like forcing us to ask this question: whose life matters more? Ryan's or Liam's? Whose life is worth more? Patrice is not a value in this equation. Whose life matters more? Ryan's or Liam's? There was no Patrice button unless you added a fucking Patrice button. Whose life matters more? Ryan or Liam? Liam's, but I didn't hear that from you. Damn. I was growing desperate. My question sounded like begging.
I don't know. It's up to him now. If he doesn't stabilize himself, we can't help him.
I needed a single certainty to latch on. Anything. But he wasn't helping me. Like... Okay, let me explain this. This is my thought process right now. If we're talking what they can offer... Okay, now, hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Because I'm going to try to explain my thought process. You can disagree with it all you want, but this is my thought process. If we're talking purely value-wise... If we're talking purely value-wise, then Liam. But if we're talking in regards to, if we include everything else, then I'd say Ryan. Because, simply put, Liam did this. At the end of the day, Liam did this. I think he should have to suffer the consequences of his actions. The question is he actually going to? I needed a single certainty to latch on. Anything. But he wasn't helping me. Can he? I insisted, hoping to force something out of his mouth that he might have forgotten to share.
I don't know.
Then do the fucking thing with your cards! Why aren't you doing it? He stared at me for a little longer. Then he reluctantly agreed and searched his pockets.
All right.
He shuffled his deck and grabbed a card. So, what does it say? Liam stayed quiet. He stared at it, unflinching. The silence was killing me.
I can't see it.
He lowered the cards and avoided looking at me.
They refuse to answer. The amount of soul required for this question is too high.
What? I don't get it. That silence of his was unbearable. It's a yes or no question! Should you be perfectly capable of seeing such a premonition?
I don't know!
He sounded frustrated saying that.
It's not working. That's all I know.
I could tell that he was feeling just as powerless as me.
I might be too tired to use it.
I swallowed hard. I see. This nightmare didn't seem willing to end. That's fine. Then a nurse showed up. She asked us a couple of questions and asked for some phone numbers they could call. His family deserved to know, even if I didn't want to see them. The news was going to reach mine too. She told us that the doctor is seeing him right now and that he might let one of us stay. They confirmed he had alcohol poisoning, matching what Liam told me before. Then she left.
Will you stay the night?
Yeah. It had to be me.
I'm still allowed to sit by the reception desk, just in case someone gets bored.
I'll be fine. Being bored wasn't punishment enough. The lynx stood up, but his eyes didn't move away from me.
I'll update the others on what's going on. They'd like to know as well.
I nodded. Not enough strength left in me to do anything else. What would you have done in my place? I tilted my head to the left, imagining Ryan sitting next to me, his fuzzy arm acting as a pillow for me. He'd tell me to be strong for him, too. That he didn't think things through, that he wanted to apologize. How would you even begin to apologize for this one? Would I be capable of taking that apology? And Liam, what would his reaction be to that? It'd be another betrayal for him. I wish you had never done that. It's not for me to think about, isn't it? I would have liked that kiss in a different situation. But now, it was just another source of pain. That horrified expression Ryan gave me moments before passing out. It won't leave my mind for a long time. This wasn't supposed to happen. His voice was filled with regret. Are you related to Ryan Giles? An elephant wearing a lab coat approached me. Yes. My voice was shaky. The desire to learn about his situation was clashing against my fears of losing him. Please tell me he's okay! The doctor didn't say anything, wondering what to tell me. Must have looked awful to him, and I could feel a degree of worry and kindness towards me. I just want to see him, even for a little bit. He gave me the room number, patted my shoulder, and told me to stay the night if I wanted to. But also that I shouldn't expect him to wake up anytime soon. I understand. He was there, lying on that bed. A tube plugged into his arm and with others underneath his clothes. A tiny screen displayed his heartbeats, which seemed to be averaging fine. Upon closer inspection, I noticed his breathing was now peaceful and less fatigued. Now he looked like he did any other night we had spent together before. Ryan might have been peacefully asleep, but no matter how much I would call his name, he wouldn't wake up. I reluctantly walked closer to run my paw across his body and sensed great discomfort. I struggled to understand whether that was mine or his. I dragged a nearby chair closer and sat down. Here. My paw gently reached out for his paw, and I held it as softly as I could. Sorry if it took so long. It felt warmer, but weak. I'll stay here. I want to keep you company. It's going to be boring, yeah? Stuck in here for 24 hours, completely alone? We can't have that. It was going to be a longer stay than that, wasn't it? The door knocked, and after allowing the visitor access, Liam walked in.
I'm back.
I grunted a positive response.
What did the doctor say?
I shook my head.
I see. I've told the others about it, so we're on the same page now.
Okay.
Patrice will drive us home, and then I'll have Dylan pick you up in the morning.
Fine.
I'm going to get someone who can actually check what's going on inside of him. I tried calling around, but got no response. I'm not surprised, considering how late it is.
I took a deep breath. There was a small thought in the back of my mind he needed to hear. Liam?
Yeah?
I waited, wondering if this was right of me to say, a truth I could demand to learn. You didn't know this was going to happen, right? My question hung in the air as he stared, his eyes failing to hold mine. I was being torn apart by this, while he seemed utterly unfazed by it all.
Makes you say that?
What you told me at the saffron stash just before departing for the castle.
He threatened me before. What I said back then was justified.
his response sounded like a defense. Like he was circling around the issue. Hang on, let me check something. Okay. And that frustrated me. It engulfed me in guilt, drowned me in the pain I was inflicting on myself by digging up the wrong truth. I know, but you could have known. I needed to hear his motivations, the reasons he pushed us past the point of no return. I needed to know that there was valid reasoning behind this pain.
Is this my fault then?
Ah! 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 This is not an emotional testicle punch. This is a fucking emotional vasectomy. Ah! Ah! That question cut me deeper than anything else ever could. I felt disgusting, filthy, and evil. No. It's just... I couldn't take this anymore. Why would you let it happen? Why would you do that to yourself, to Ryan, to me? I didn't want to shift the blame on him, but it sounded exactly like that was what happened. Was there no other way? It's actually 9,003. I added another. We were all playing a part in this diabolical theater play, and Liam didn't want to interfere with the script. I wish things had played out differently.
There wasn't another path for us to take, believe me, I've checked.
Then he placed his paw onto his chest, gripping his clothes with anger.
You can think of me as an accomplice if that makes you feel better.
He smiled at me, and I felt my whole body shivering.
We can all be bad people together.
I knew that there was nothing more to say here. I want to be alone. So, can you please go? Oh, hi, Azzy, and bye, Azzy. He turned his back on me, opened the door, and stared at the hallway before him.
Good night, Joel.
At the very end, before he hurried outside, his voice cracked. I stared at the door he just closed. I could see his outline through the frosted glass. We are just people. And we make a lot of stupid mistakes. Then he moved away, disappearing into the hallway. How far can we stretch that line before breaking it? My eyes traveled back to the sleeping bear beside me. It's not fair to inflict the pain you've experienced onto others. I looked at his face. The bandage he used earlier that day now wet and torn apart. But I'm sorry for not noticing that you also needed help. I gently pulled it off and felt a surge of sadness pushing through. I hoped that, just for tonight, Ryan could experience relief. I stared at the hallway before me. With the scorching pain all over my body, I struggled to move.
It wasn't supposed to end like this.
I placed myself against the door, the exhaustion finally catching up to me. That and my useless emotions getting in the way of my goal. My body was burning. This soreness was another warning of my soul usage being too high. I pushed myself forward and walked away. There would be more work to do there would be more work for me to do before I could rest. I stopped, thinking about Joel and the way he was looking at me. He wore the same expression I had years ago when my sister disappeared. This cruel world had taken everything away from me then. I didn't want you to experience the same thing.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't even say that to his face. I walked along the wall, tightened my fist, and punched it out of frustration. I'll bring him back. I won't ruin another family. I won't destroy their lives. They don't deserve any of that. Liam, hey, what's wrong? I raised my head and saw him walking toward me.
You shouldn't be here.
He noticed that I wasn't feeling well and rushed to my aid. You were taking so long. I couldn't just stand still and do nothing.
No. Stop that!
He attempted to help, only for me to push him away. You literally can't walk. Let me help you.
No, stay away from me! I can do this!
Him being there was making me feel worse. Then I lost balance, and before I could protest, I found myself in his arms. It's okay. I got you. We stood like that for what felt like an hour to me. Patrice was right the first time. Leaving me behind was the correct choice. He wasn't supposed to come back to check on me. I was born broken, and there was nothing he could do to change that. But then why couldn't I let go of him? I'm sorry.
You say that so easily, don't you?
I buried myself deeper into his arms. It's okay. I'm here for you. Hold on a second. Fuck. Ah! Why? Why? Okay, real quick. Can someone do me a favor? Get a comically large frying pan and beat me to death with it so that way I don't have to feel sad at this. The memories buried within my body resurfaced, and I felt sick. I trembled, gripping his shirt as hard as I possibly could. And I cried. I cried like I'd never done before in my life. Who's the crybaby now, huh? I had forgotten when was the last time I cried the way I did now. Now that I'd learned what dying feels like, not even death scared me anymore. What truly terrified me was losing the people I loved. I don't want to get attached anymore. I noticed how his hug weakened. Was he letting me go? Or did what I say bother him? I'm not going to leave you. I moved away and stared at the floor.
She told me the same thing.
I felt his soul flaring up in a storm of regret that I failed to understand. I wish I could tell you what was going through your mind at the time. Then it changed. It became became confident, bright, and blinding. But I know for a fact that she loved you dearly, and that she'd never abandon you. I hated it. Patrice couldn't understand, but he acted as if he did.
Yet she did. That's the whole reason we're here tonight.
He wasn't supposed to cheer me up. He wasn't supposed to stay by my side. I'm gonna put on a hoodie because I'm cold. Everyone says, where's the emotional support, Joel? But no, everyone asks, where's the emotional support, Joel? But nobody ever asks, how's the emotional support, Joel? He wasn't supposed to stay by my side.
Because now I'm desperate to understand why. To the point of getting everyone hurt.
Not after everything I've done. Who got hurt? I snapped my head toward him. That immediate delivery caught me by surprise and I couldn't help but stare. Ryan is a trooper. That's not going to be enough to put him down. He laughed, placed his paw on my shoulder, and gave me an understanding look. Patrice was dumb, and our pre-existing relationship was leading him astray. He wouldn't be here acting like this in the first place if we hadn't already met years ago. Did Joel blame you for it? That answer broke me. He knew what the answer was and wanted me to say it.
He should have.
I grinned, hoping that would work somehow. He's too nice for that. All of you were. It was driving me insane. I just wanted him to stay away before things got worse.
Patrice.
But I knew by now that the more I wanted to push Patrice away, the harder he'd come charging back. Yeah, what's up? He smiled, waiting for me to say what he already figured out. I was this close to not saying it at all.
I need your help.
Well, if you say it like that, I can't turn you down, can I? I scoffed, pushed him out of the way, and walked past him.
Don't be ridiculous.
He chuckled as he caught up with me. You are so moody. I didn't want you to see the look on my face.
I need you to stay behind. We can talk about this after we take the others back home.
He placed his arm around me. Yes, sir. Then he pointed at the room behind us. Joe's staying here?
Yeah.
I see. I'll bring him something warm before we depart. I didn't feel tired at all. My mind kept moving back and forth between Ryan and Liam, and I struggled to find an answer that would satisfy me. Are we discussing the kiss, this Mr. Blorbo, or Lakari Toda? That was a stupid question. It didn't feel right to be focusing only on the negatives. Russell told me all about it. You did something good as well, and more than ever, you needed to hear that. I mean, the slime monster you encountered. Hearing Russell's story makes it really hard for me to pick a side. My mind immediately flashed back to the bad things you'd done. Because, was that really your doing? Did you actually agree to it? I wanted to believe the opposite. Liam said you might have, and I can't deny that possibility. If possession requires some sort of convincing, that meant a compromise of sorts must have been made. This also won't prevent you from taking responsibility. But I don't think it's okay for me to point my finger at you and blame you now. I want to discuss that when you can actually talk back. I was proud of you for protecting Russell. I grabbed his paw, caressing his fur with my thumb. And I know why. It's because it reminded me that you're still in there somewhere. that you didn't lose your mind. You're still that silly bear who wanted to become a hero. I stared at his paw again, hoping for a reaction, a twitching maybe. Then I let it go, saddened by my failure. But I never liked that dream of yours. I could almost hear you talking back to me, rambling about how cool saving others could be. See? This is what happens when you help people. I sighed, placing my head next to him and scooched closer. Now you're the one who needs help and I have to sit here and watch over you. I could feel my voice cracking. I feel so powerless. Nothing. I'll never know if Ryan had actually heard what I just said. Life loved being cruel to us. Joe? Then I heard Patrice call my name and knock on my door. The tiger's large silhouette merged with the frame, but his voice helped recognize him. Yeah, 1 second. I quickly buried my face into my jacket, hoping to look less miserable by forcing the tears to stop. Don't worry. I just wanted to let you know that we're leaving. He kneeled down and dropped something by the door. I brought you some covers. Don't get sick while you look after him, okay? I hugged my arms in response. Thanks. It was getting cold here. Then he stood up again. I could feel him watching me through the door. He's strong. I'm sure that you being there is all he needs. I reached out for the handle, held into my paw and froze. I reluctantly took my paw away from it. We're with you. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow. Then he walked off and I sheepishly opened the door to retrieve the covers he had left for me. These were Ryan's. He told me how the bear brought a big blanket so that multiple people could cuddle up just in case. It's not like we have to, but, you know, if you ever felt cold. I found myself smiling, and then tearing up at the same time. God, I'm such a mess. I thought about the others, about their feelings and how this experience also affected them. Patrice was right. I wasn't alone. I'm going to talk to Liam tomorrow. I want to say sorry. Then I glared at Ryan, knowing exactly what he'd be thinking. But I won't do it for you. That's your job, not mine. I'm sure you'll find a way to apologize. You'd never give up that easily. Am I right? I yawned and unrolled the covers Patrice had kindly delivered to me. I'll try to get some sleep now. You are allowed to wake me up again if you regain consciousness. Just saying. I repeated his line and chuckled. Good night, Ryan. I wrapped myself in his bedsheet and the scent of pines immediately entered my nostrils. I liked it, but this scent only added salt to the wound. Sleeping on a chair was terrible. I changed position again and again, but I couldn't get comfortable. My mind suggested sleeping with Ryan, and I immediately slapped that thought out of my brain. I ended up sleeping on the floor. It was as if Ryan had known all along. The covers really were big enough to keep me warm. Day 4. Are you ready to meet your new classmates? I grunted as I stared at my sister adjusting herself in the mirror. You don't need to be scared. Literally anywhere else is better than her home. She turned around and her school uniform seemed to be larger. He must have bought her the wrong size. How about I stop by during recess? She held my paws, lowered herself to the same level as me, and smiled. I meant to smile back, but I couldn't do it. Lunch together! I said nothing and hugged her instead, my tiny hands reaching around her torso and squeezing. Make sure you make some new friends this time. Of course, they can't beat me, but I miss hearing your voice. And, well, I'm older than you. You need to find someone closer to your age. 2 years of difference didn't seem like a big deal to me. We wouldn't get to be in the same class, and that was enough to keep us apart from each other. Let's leave before those two start arguing again. I know you don't want to hear them. She gently patted my head and led me outside. I reluctantly let her hand go and headed into my new classroom. The teachers already knew I couldn't speak and were worried about it. It scared me that they wanted to reach out to my parents for help. Everyone was staring at me. I didn't like this. I wrote the word bathroom on a piece of paper and gave it to the teacher and ran outside. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be alone, and find a place to hide where only someone who cared would find me. I sat on the swing, felt the cold iron chains in my paws, and stared down. This wasn't good enough. everyone could see me here, but I couldn't find any tight spaces for me to squeeze in. There was a tiny plastic house in the corner. Not the best, but not the worst either. Come with us, there's something I need to show you. Heard kids coming my way and I didn't want to be found by them. Ran into the house and closed all the windows before they would see me. Is it true that you're scared of everything? No. That's not what you told us in class, Patrice. Yeah, we saw how that skeleton freaked you out. I heard 3 different voices, slightly older than mine. Maybe just as old as my sister's. I gently pushed the window open just a crack to let me see what was happening. There was a tiger being dragged around by 2 other kids. He looked anxious and frightened. You're dumb. There's nothing scary about this. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll show you how easy it is to get over it. The tiger didn't seem okay with this. He quickly attempted to leave, only for the other 2 to stop him. Where are you going? Be a man and stop acting like a girl. The tiger's eyes welled up with tears, and that only enraged him. Didn't even show you the surprise yet. He's such a crybaby. Didn't he say he wanted to get better? He was obviously lying. I'm not. You clearly like the attention. Can't stand another year of this. So we're going to fix you and make everything normal again. The kid shuffled through his bag and pulled out a fake skull. The tiger immediately closed his eyes and looked away. You have to look at it. I watched as the first kid pried the tiger's hands away from his eyes. Then the window on the opposite end opened and my sister peeked in. There you are! I had a feeling I'd find you here. Her smile faded as she noticed my worried look and the way I was staring through the tiny gap behind me. What's wrong? Did someone hurt you? Then the tiger cried loud enough for her to hear. She moved away, lured by the noise. Give me 1 second. Heard her pacing quickly around the house towards the kids who were bullying the tiger. The tiger was on the floor, crawling away from the skull. It wasn't that scary. It was an unrealistic replica, but I could tell that he was seeing something else entirely. I used to have that same look when I watched my parents fight. What are you 2 doing? Kids were trying to get the skull as close as possible to Patrice, only for my sister to step in the way. Can't you see? We are helping him. She turned back to Patrice, who had a terrified expression full of tears and mucus. This is obviously not helping him. Stop bullying him or I'm going to call the teacher. They backed off, the realization of what they had done finally sinking in. No, this isn't... Run! One of the kids dragged the other way and they left before the rest of the class could see. Fully opened the window to get a better look at my sister and the tiger. That's a scary thing, right? Patrice didn't say anything, but Nia knew the answer already. She ran up to it and kicked it away as hard as she possibly could. There you go, the monster is gone. You can't... She couldn't even finish her sentence before the tiger dove into her chest and sobbed uncontrollably. Lynx gently placed her hand around him and reassured the tiger. There. You're safe now. The noise began attracting all the other kids, and I immediately hid inside the house again. Then the door opened, and she let him in here with us, away from the chaos. I didn't like this. Sorry, he didn't want to go anywhere else. Don't you want to tell the teacher about it? No. It wouldn't do anything. What was the point of talking if nobody was there to listen? What's your name? I'm Nia, and this is my brother Liam. Patrice. Nia immediately snapped back to me, surprised to have heard my voice. She looked eager to hear more, but that was all I was willing to say. Well, he shouldn't just thank me. She led Patrice's paw into mine, and we held each other's paw. He told me that you were in trouble. No, I didn't. I only watched. I didn't do anything. Thank you. My little brother finally made a new friend. I'm so proud of you. Patrice's face brightened up and it took my paw away. Okay, this is wholesome as fuck. She was reading this wrong. We can spend time together like this, and when I move on to high school, Liam will be here to help. Friends? He waited for me to say something, but I didn't. He doesn't talk much, but I'm sure he'd like to say yes. We stared at each other for what felt like hours. He seemed sad again. Placed my hand on top of his head and patted him a few times. Then I turned away, embarrassment taking over my features. He smiled, considering that weird reaction to be a positive answer. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to be on my own. But it felt nice to be alone together. I groaned. My head hurt. Sleeping on the floor wasn't a good idea. Lisa's headache didn't come from the castle, but from my own questionable decisions. I felt somewhat relieved to be feeling normal pain. Good morning, Ryan. My eyes moved toward him, and I immediately noticed his paw dangling off the mattress. I was confident he had moved it himself while I was out. Ryan? But there was no response. And now I could see his soul around him, passive, slow, and weak. That wasn't there before. Wait. I grabbed his paw and placed it on the mattress. I felt his pain. He was still suffering. Hey. My presence behind me carefully approached, afraid of my reaction. But I didn't have any to give. You're Liam's sister, right?
Yes, that's me.
It surprised me that she was so drastically different from before, but my mind was elsewhere. I dreamed about you earlier. She looked much older now, but her defining features stayed. Patrice and Liam were also there. They were much cuter as babies, even if Liam retained that devilish vibe around him. Seemed like that was your first time meeting him. I could tell that it rang a bell, but she was struggling to remember.
Was it something about two kids bullying him?
My eyes widened. That was way too accurate to be a coincidence. Yeah? Was that not something my brain just came up with?
Just a neat medium trick. We love gathering information this way.
She turned to the unconscious bear laying on the mattress.
Sorry about Ryan. I saw how tough that was on both of you.
You have nothing to apologize for. It's thanks to you that he's still here.
That's partially true.
She hovered toward Ryan and stopped right above him.
I'm a ghost now. There is no soul for me to share. Instead, I forged a contract with you and used some of your soul to reinforce his.
The ring, right? When I put it on my finger back then.
You basically consented to this, yes.
And the vow of silence was toward Liam, but why him?
I can't have him see me. I don't remember why, but it was important to not let Liam find me.
But that's the reason this is happening in the first place. Liam won't stop until he finds you.
I understand that you're agitated and confused. It was a terrible day for everyone involved.
You say that as if you've seen it all.
About that.
She awkwardly laughed it off.
I looked through your memories to get a grasp on the situation. Please don't get mad.
That's very typical of you.
Sorry, I would have asked, but I considered this an emergency.
I looked at Ryan again.
Listen, I need more time. I've been a ghost for so long, my mind is fragmented all over the place right now. I will eventually come out and show myself to Liam, but not today. Especially not with a curse hanging over their heads. Their souls are unstable.
You mean?
Yes, the soul you feel around Ryan is severely damaged and contaminated by a curse.
He couldn't wake up because there was not enough clean soul?
All of your friends could end up like Ryan under the worst circumstances.
That's terrible. I can't let that happen.
Well, except you for some reason.
That didn't make me feel better. I genuinely didn't care about myself. There's still 6 more people that can get seriously injured!
I don't think so. The castle already took action and used Ryan as a display of the power it has.
I held my head with both paws. This is getting out of hand.
You'll have to go back and destroy the castle.
That wasn't something I was looking forward to. And that will bring Ryan back. I reminded myself that he needed me now more than ever. She nodded, and that was enough to calm myself down. I want to save Ryan, but I'm nobody. I know absolutely nothing about being a medium. How do we kill a curse anyway? I still don't know what a curse is. My experience is negative and my knowledge is non-existent. She gently placed her paw on top of mine. But it was a little awkward and it wasn't exactly touching mine.
Take a deep breath. Liam and I are here to guide you. I know it feels like you'll never be ready to handle this, but you will.
I don't feel confident at all.
Start by getting accustomed to your new medium status. Life for you will be much different now.
I looked at the bear again. I just needed to focus on him for a few seconds to see it clearly. I noticed a dark aura around Ryan.
And that's the curse. It's this cluster of negative emotions that's going haywire, and it slowly corrupts the person they're infecting. It usually takes time before getting to this level, but he was possessed while in the castle.
Talking about that only fueled my anger. Tell me how to destroy it.
The thing is, curses are created by people that have succumbed to their negative emotions. Grief, hatred, regret, anger, guilt. These negative feelings carry strong desires that serve as foundation for a curse.
So the objective here is to find out what the castle wants and appease it?
It's not always possible to appease it, but learning the cause will provide you with more solutions, yes.
And the castle just holds these answers for us. Isn't that dumb? Hang on. Yep. Isn't that dumb?
They can't help it. The castle is a physical manifestation of their desires. It's part of their soul, which means their motives are also hidden somewhere.
I wanted to close my eyes again. Maybe this was another dream. You know what would make this easier? Knowing what my talent is. It was unfair how I was given all this work and nothing exciting to match it with.
I can help, if you allow me to dive through your memories.
Oh, now you want my consent.
First petty comment of the day.
Hey, don't use my own memories against me!
Is there nothing I can do for Ryan? I don't want to leave him like this.
We can share some more soul with your friend, but I'm not sure that will completely heal him. Ultimately, it's going to be up to him.
I want to do that.
I'm positive we should do something at least, because I inspected his body while you were asleep, and...
My face flushed red and I looked away, thinking the wrong kind of thoughts at the worst possible time. You inspected it? She chuckled and pointed at her half-vanished wrist.
Joel, I'm dead. I literally could not care about that even if I wanted to.
I was acting like an idiot. Of course you didn't mean it that way. Yeah, you're right. I'm so sorry.
You're still young and inexperienced, but I totally understand where you're coming from.
She winked, showing the same kind of supportive attitude Patrice would have given me. Nope, let's go back and talk about what we were trying to say. I dragged her back to Ryan by moving the ring closer to him.
Oh, he most likely regained consciousness for a while, then passed out again.
I believed that, so Ryan watched me sleep and fainted while doing so. You know, normal Pearl things.
I think he's got a vague idea of what's going on, but I can't tell for sure. Talking to him was smart. Positive feelings can aid his natural healing.
I was relieved to know that his condition wasn't as critical as it used to be.
With a little bit of your soul added to the mix, he might recover by tomorrow.
I smiled. A tired one, but genuine. That would be amazing.
Now place your paws on his chest and I'll show you how to share your soul.
I excitedly did as she instructed, but I felt a little uncomfortable, so I ended up hovering my paws over his tits.
You need to actually touch him, though.
Nice! My whole body began shaking. I can't do that to someone who can't consent! Neo raised a brow in confusion.
If he could talk, he would be begging you to do that.
The fact that she isn't wrong. The hat was calling me, but I was too busy to answer. Fine! I'll hold his chest. Couldn't get my paws to move, so I leaned my whole body forward.
I was really hoping you'd say you were going to squeeze them.
Hang on, I want to make sure that, hang on. Let me just... Oh, I did need to open up the whole fucking menu. Hang on. Just the fucking... Quote, squeeze those soggy bitches. Keiko, January 11th, 2025. They were incredibly soft, too. Why are we talking about his tits? We really need to stop making this weird. I can see that the idiot gene runs in the family.
Emotions can get in the way of your power, so I need you to lock that shyness away.
I glared at her, my face flushing a bright red.
Easy for you to say.
I took a deep breath and focused on locking the running gay back into his prison. Ah, shit.
Close your eyes and focus on the warmth in your hands.
I did as I was told, trying to keep my mind distracted from what I was holding.
You can feel the difference between your temperature and his, right?
Ryan's chest was warmish, but not like my paws, which always felt kind of sweaty.
Souls can either be hot or cold, depending on your mood. You're most likely warm right now, so focus on raising his temperature.
I was a bit lost on the actual procedure. Was it just warming him up?
Don't worry, just let your body guide you.
Then I felt it. My paws behaved similarly to a syringe as I injected that warmth directly into his chest. Is this just an allegory for sex?
Good. Now take them away.
I opened my eyes and reluctantly obeyed.
I know you don't want to give too much, or else you'll cause an overdose.
I did that soul sharing thingy just once. Can the opposite also happen? Maybe Ryan not being a medium mattered more than I thought it would.
Our bodies can only contain a limited amount, and going past that will make the container rupture.
Is the size of the container different for everyone?
Yep. Yours, for example, is so big I can't even guess how much you're capable of holding.
For a moment, that news excited me, but then the reality came crashing down. Cool, will that even be useful if I don't have a talent?
You'll find it eventually, just let me do my thing, that's why.
She suddenly stopped and her head snapped toward the hallway. What's wrong? The lynx retreated into her ring and disappeared.
A medium is approaching, I think.
I could tell she sounded uncertain. I can't feel anything.
Yeah, it disappeared. But that small presence is headed your way. Might be a friend of yours.
I hadn't gotten the chance to differentiate between their souls yet. I'll hide you until it's safe.
Don't worry about pocketing your paw.
I'm making the ring invisible.
Oh, that's very useful. Another big silhouette hovered by the doorframe, but they didn't knock before just letting themselves in. Oh, hi, Dylan. He took a good look at the room I was in, stared at me, then grunted something and walked closer. Morning.
5 in here, huh?
He stopped by Ryan's bedside and stared at his chest.
I expected 4.
I froze. I thought he wouldn't be able to notice Nia's presence, but he clearly did. What are you talking about? It's just us 3. Dylan scoffed. My response annoyed him, but he didn't voice it.
Guess your things were leaving.
Then he lifted his hands and channeled his soul to do the same thing I'd done a minute ago.
No, wait, don't do that!
Thought about what Nia explained to me and worried about overwhelming him with soul.
You really thought I wouldn't notice?
He rolled his eyes and pointed at the hidden ring.
Just come out already, you're pissing me off!
So, is your talent to enhance your eyesight?
She mused, placing herself next to him while I stared at her, bewildered.
Why did you show yourself?
You know I'd been by your side all along.
He gave her a menacing glare.
I don't trust ghosts, but there's no signs of possession on Joel.
The crocodile was likely observing me before making his move.
Did my soul mending convince you of my innocence?
He repeated the same thing I did and infused Ryan with a portion of his soul.
You could have killed him if you wanted to.
Wait, if you knew, why didn't you?
I wanted the whole story before making a choice.
Nia seemed completely unbothered by this and instead curiously investigated the way his soul interacted with Ryan's.
You seem to have a much clearer vision than ours, thanks to your talent.
In what way exactly?
The cores! My ring is also a core technically, so I can't hide it from him.
That reminded me how Liam couldn't see cores either, unless the soul around it disappeared. Dylan gave us a satisfied grunt. Okay, I'm following so far. Does this make his healing potential better than mine?
Well, we can't see what's going on inside Ryan. Dylan, on the other hand, should be able to see in greater detail.
I'm just replicating what Mom taught me years ago.
I remembered Liam telling me about how medium blood ran in the family.
But yes, I see 4 different souls intertwining with Ryan's. The slime is still inside.
Yeah, I assume so.
And you didn't tell me? That's terrible. I'm sure I'd managed to get it out.
I don't want to alarm you. He's inactive right now, which makes him harmless.
Being outside the castle greatly weakened it.
And now Ryan can rely on her energy to keep it under control, or at least that's what I'm hoping.
But we should just take it out.
Bad idea.
So he's gonna be stuck with that monster forever?
Destroying the castle.
Shit. Fuck.
Destroying the castle is the safest way to remove it, I know.
We've done everything in our power to help him for now.
I see.
You need to trust in him now.
Take your stuff, we're leaving.
She waved at us while the ring sucked her back in.
And I'll work on restoring my memories. Catch you guys later.
You'll tell me your side of the story while I drive you home.
I gathered my things, folded the covers Patrice gave me, and placed them on a nearby table. Fine. The crocodile walked out first, but it didn't feel right to leave without saying goodbye, so I walked up to Ryan and observed him one more time. His fur recovered most of its brightness and his face wasn't as pale anymore. Now he looked like he could be taking a nap, and I simply needed to call his name to wake him up. Ryan. But there was no answer. I didn't want to feel sad again. I wanted to stay positive and talk to him normally, just as if he were awake. I was told that your parents will come here soon to see you. So, tomorrow I'll probably wait for them to leave first before I get here. You know I don't want to meet them. Especially James. I awkwardly laughed it off. There was nothing I could say to his family that would convince them. I promise I'll come visit tomorrow no matter what. You keep resting and focusing on getting better. I smiled, hugged his belly, and slowly backed away toward the door. I couldn't turn my back on him. I wanted to keep him in my vision. That was until Dylan grabbed me by the collar and took me away. Okay, I'm going! I stopped in front of his bike while he grabbed a helmet for me. Seems like your wish has been granted. That made me think about Ryan again, and that soured my mood. Terrible circumstances to make this happen.
First time?
He wasn't wrong, but my whining was aimed at something else. Yeah, it's going to be a little uncomfortable for me. He jumped on first and pointed at his back.
You can hold on to me as much as you want.
That gave me another wave of stupid gay thoughts.
This is an exception, don't get used to it.
I reluctantly made my way to him and he helped me climb up. Thanks. I'll tell you about Nia to keep myself distracted. I had struggled, but I actually found it pretty comfortable, even if I couldn't recall being on a bike before. He slowed down, the bike screeching to a halt, and I jumped off. Dylan moved to the sidewalk, and I kept staring at the main road.
You better get used to seeing it.
That wasn't even my first ghost. I saw so many on our way here. They flooded the streets, accompanying the living, walking side by side with us, and we just couldn't see them. I could tell that they were harmless and friendly, almost endearing. They were like curious little kids who wanted to see the world around them. It was a charming view. I wish you could see all of this.
Just do your thing today.
I watched him take his bike back to the road. Where are you going? Where's Liam? Started panicking. He wanted to leave, but I didn't get to discuss anything yet.
I didn't care enough to ask. The dragon was there.
So he's on campus. He turned on the engine.
Eat some fucking food first.
The crocodile scoffed, then his attention shifted onto the road. I froze for a second too long. My brain couldn't keep up with him.
Wait, you didn't even tell me if you will.
I chased after him, but he quickly disappeared.
Great.
Hoped my story convinced him. I looked at my black wrist marking, then at her ring. What's her opinion? I sighed. I was completely on my own now. But my growling stomach reminded me of where my priorities were. I didn't have cash on me, but thankfully I was sitting right underneath my apartment. Wonder if I needed a shower and sniffed myself. I settled for grabbing some cash and postponed washing until later. Ryan's car was still sitting outside his restaurant untouched. That sight truly bothered me. At least there was nobody to see me. It was just me, Russell, and Patrice. Oh, Patrice was also here. Morning. Russell was already looking my way while Patrice's ears perked up upon hearing my voice. You returned! He smiled, tapped the seat next to him, and I joined the tiger. How did it go? They didn't seem as surprised to see me as I expected them to be. Were you guys waiting for me to show up? Liam asked me to keep an eye on you, since the big man himself isn't there to get it done. That was really considerate of him. I didn't feel like being alone either. I figured you'd stop by eventually. Hungry? I held my empty stomach back from releasing another shockwave. Yes, please, I'm starving. I'll be fast. While we waited for my food to get ready, I told them my side of the story. But I omitted what I couldn't share. So, Ryan's going to wake up? He beamed, and as much as I wanted to share that excitement, I just couldn't fully indulge in it. That's what I'm told. Now that the worst had passed for Ryan, my mind was stuck on what was going to happen next. Then stop giving me that sad look. Everything will be fine. Russell turned away from me. He shouldn't listen to my thoughts. They weren't the healthiest right now. Yeah, Russell plated a couple of fried eggs and mashed potatoes in front of me. Here. The smell is distracting enough. Do you happen to know where Liam is? I tried calling, but his phone has been turned off. I stabbed the egg in the middle and cut through it for a bite. He should be on campus. He waited for me to clear my mouth. Dylan said the same, that he was with Clyde. They're looking into something related to the castle. He should be back soon. I was slightly disappointed, and I struggled to hide it. I see. I kinda wanted to talk to him. Is this what I think it is? Maybe. I didn't know what version of the story Liam fed to Patrice. I said some inappropriate things to him, and I don't want them weighing him down. I stared at my unfinished food. Nah. He waved me off with such strong confidence that I couldn't help believing him for a moment. His mind was completely somewhere else. I mean, this doesn't mean he doesn't care, of course. But yeah, if it helps, then you should speak up. I sighed and took another bite. Before I forget. He revealed a tiny box with a strange warmth leaking off the sides. Take these with you. The bull opened it, and I saw several papers of different shapes and sizes. Liam started offering them to everyone after we drove you home. Patrice emptied his pockets and showed me his kitty-shaped paper. They're cute! I could tell they were interacting with Patrice's soul and pushing negative energies away from him. Liam said they're charms. They have a strange energy attached to them. They're supposed to keep you safe from the curse, although temporarily. The tiger gulped. Yeah, he did say that. He hugged his arms to contain the shivering, trying to focus on the good side. I was about to forget because you don't feel any different. It was particularly powerful on Ryan, but I was also feeling it on them. Dylan said something similar to me earlier. I wonder why the castle treated me differently. I think Liam is more qualified than me to explain your circumstances. Then he placed the receipt on the counter, only for Patrice to swipe it away from me. No need! Today Patrice will pay for it! But I wouldn't have to fight for it today. I can't accept that. But then he immediately lowered the receipt and hesitantly returned it to me. You sure I want to do something nice for you? I could literally see Ryan through him. And I didn't mind letting them win once in a while. Alright, you can do that. Yes! Ryan will be jealous now. I shook my head in response. After all, he was here with us right now. No, I don't think he will. Russell took the tiger's money and handed Patrice some pocket change. So what's your plan for today? You think Liam will be on campus after he's finished with Clyde? Most likely. Russell walked to the sink and began washing my empty plate. You could stop by here as well. True, we did ask Dylan to take you here. Him insulting me wasn't exactly the right strategy. I see. That was a terrible attempt then. But I appreciate that instead of forcefully dragging me over. Dylan was certainly trying, but the bar was just way too low for us to notice. Pretty sure the bar was in hell. You didn't do that? Dylan must be feeling under the weather again. Patrice! The bar is in hell! It is that low. He crossed the bar because it's in hell. The bar is in hell. I find that hard to believe. I literally saw him in action before and nothing suggested that. I promise you Dylan cares. He's just terrible at showing it. I suppose you've known him longer than me. I stood up from my seat. Getting out already? Yeah, I think I want to walk around and do stuff. Keep my mind busy. Patrice also hopped off and walked up to me. Room for one more? Wink wink nudge nudge. How long can you keep a conversation going? I thought we were trying to bond, but doing that would make you hate me. You're being too confident, Mr. Extrovert. Russell's head suddenly snapped toward the kitchen. I'll see you both later. He left in a hurry. Just going inside to check on storage. Something must have happened. Later! See ya. Patrice led the way and I begrudgingly followed. I found myself looking back, only to face forward again the moment Patrice took notice of me. You know what I really like about you? You wear your heart on your sleeve. Thanks? I don't know where this was coming from. It means that you look bothered. He was right, but I couldn't exactly define this gut feeling of mine. Was it Russell? You started doing that after you left. I might be still on edge. Just gotta stop thinking about things. What happened yesterday might be making me paranoid. I was about to hit you with the, don't be sad Russell isn't coming with us. Now I feel bad for even thinking that. He never does leave that restaurant. We should get him out. He gave me a funny look. Oh, yeah? That was always followed by terrible choices we'd end up regretting. Without taking him by force. It was funnier in my head, but he's kind of too big for me to grab on my own. You're still trying to make that plan work. Please stop. I was just curious. Do you think Ryan and I together would be enough? Could Dylan take him all by himself? This is an insane conversation, and I was trying my best to not fall into his dubious schemes. You challenged me, remember? I won't lose. This wasn't what I had in mind when I said that, though. His face quickly darkened after that. His eyes were staring right through me. I kind of freaked out. That wasn't something I expected. I mean, this is fine. I wouldn't want you to get upset over this. His eyes trailed somewhere in the back, but then he snapped back to me. Let's get out of here. Before I could say anything, Patrice grabbed my paw and took me away. What the fuck happened? I begged him to let me go, and he finally did. I was completely out of breath. Patrice had already proved to me that his endurance was much higher than mine. That was the farthest thing. A relaxing stroll, Patrice. I gave myself a few more seconds to get my breathing under control. What happened? You look panicked. You kind of panicked on me. I didn't feel safe there. I tilted my head confused. What are you talking about? There were a couple of sharks sitting outside. Didn't you see them? I gave them a passing look as we left the restaurant. Why? What's up with them? Rancid vibes. I knew I needed to take you away as soon as they walked closer. How would you know? Russell manages a restaurant and people go there to eat food. I didn't feel anything. Was my second sight limited to ghosts? I might not be a medium like you or Liam, but I have my own experiences backing me up. See, you get to meet a lot of people at parties, especially when you want to go wasted. I stared at him and he looked away. Not that I was one of them. Sure, I totally believe that. The point is, I can tell if someone's going to cause problems. Are you really sure? We shouldn't be taking this lightly. Yeah, I'm confident those two are bad news. Shouldn't you go back and check on Russell? Patrice looked conflicted. I wanted to, but I had to keep my promise to Liam and stay with you. He was cute, but I didn't need a sitter. I thought Russell could handle those losers just fine. I can tell he's done this before. Couldn't help but feel uneasy about this. Hope you're right. You witnessed a lot of violence already, didn't you? I didn't say anything, but the answer was pretty obvious. I wanted to spare you the additional baggage. Thank you, but I still want to help Russell in one way or another. We can at least text him, make sure he's fine and all that jazz. Then leave that to me, okay? I want you to focus on doing your thing today. I reluctantly nodded. What's your next step? What's our next step? To Clyde's office. He encouraged me to keep going, so I did. I trusted that he would check on Russell and see that everything was fine on his end. I reached for the handle, but the door didn't move. Is it locked? So Clyde hadn't returned from his meeting yet. Do you have an appointment? Blake's monotone question came through and I raised about that. You take those? He sounds like a minimum wage worker at retail. Heard the door unlocking and joined him. It was just him. I watched the wolf walk back to Clyde's desk and meddle with some documents. No, we don't take those. He chuckled, his ears flicked in response. People usually leave unless it's an emergency. He lowered the folder and scribbled something on a different paper. You're really good at finding loopholes, huh? I was asked to hold the fort, not to manage it. He was doing something, though. Something important enough to make him lock the door. You're acting just like my substitute teacher. Fun to have, but I learned nothing from them. I'm sure it's not always like this. Blake's eyes came out to give me a little peek, led by his curiosity. He had something to say and was gauging my emotional state. Can we sit? Blake gave me a slight nod, so I moved closer and grabbed a chair. Sorry for intruding. Got Jill to run some laps. Is that so? That's unusual. I guess. He opened the drawer below and returned the folder. How are you holding up? Patrice turned away, avoiding meeting his gaze or mine. Still shaken up, but I'll manage. I told him exactly the same thing I shared with Patrice earlier. I see. That's a good sign. You should be feeling relieved, but you're not. I worried that, unlike Patrice, Blake might be on to us and ask questions about Ryan's hospitalization. Yeah. I told him that it's not his fault, but these things need time. Blake grunted a few times. Something was brewing underneath. I suppose. And I couldn't tell whether he was going to take the shot or keep it to himself. Clyde told me about your research, Patrice. He seamlessly derailed the conversation away from me. It was so sudden, even Patrice couldn't react for a few seconds. Did he? Yeah, what should he tell you exactly? The newspaper database we have stored in the library. Patrice scratched the back of his head, unsure of what to say to him. I was planning to give it a look later, yeah. The tiger sounded anxious discussing this. I thought I'd provide another option if that doesn't work. I considered asking Liam, but that might be bad timing on my part, so I'd love to hear your suggestion. Visit the CFC and tell them about your story. I didn't understand the details, but hearing Clyde's fan club being mentioned confused me further. God, you want to send me to Margaret? Patrice reacted just as shocked as I expected him to be. That's the most normal reaction so far. Blake chuckled. I could feel his soul hovering above me even when the eyes couldn't see it. She's still the lead of the journalism club before the tragedy of renaming it. And you should know she's really good at what she does, personality aside. Was she rude or something? I never really got to interact with her. Oh, that's why I couldn't find the journalism club anymore. I thought they removed it. He opened his palm wide and hit it with his fist in realization. There's not much else I can do for you, sorry. Patrice smiled and shook his head, returning the same apologetic energy. Hold the fuck up! Blake's shirt is blue. Or it's like a blue-green. Is he secretly Minecraft Steve? Don't mind at night. Patrice smiled and shook his head, returning the same apologetic energy. Don't be. That was plenty useful. They couldn't just discuss this in front of me and not let me in on it. What are you researching, if you don't mind me asking? Creeper. Aw, man. So we back in the mine, swinging our pickaxe from side to side, side to side. I don't know the rest of the words. Patrice froze, his soul flaring around uncontrollably. This was the kind of question he didn't want to get. I'm looking into what happened when I was a child. But then his whole body relaxed. Pushing it out eased his worries. Sorry for not telling you. I thought that wasn't appropriate to share now. It was me. I was a reason for that weird cluster of anxiety his soul was generating. No, I get it. The world keeps on moving, right? Reassured him, but he struggled to believe me. A part of Patrice refused that notion. Yeah. Maybe he was right to be worried. Maybe it was just me trying to uphold courtesy and being nice. But you and Ryan will keep me moving too. There's no need to catch up. I smiled. Now he was reassuring me. Thanks. Blake opened his eyes, dug into his pockets, and turned on his phone. Oh, I see. Then he looked at us. Clyde just texted me. They're on their way. Is Liam with him? Yes. Then what about stopping by the library with me while we wait? Or you can stay here. I get that it's a boring process. I don't mind sticking around with you. Can you let Liam know I'll be waiting at the library? Sure. Wait, before you leave, can I ask you a question? I pointed at myself, unsure if I was being targeted. You can also answer this question, but I kinda already know what you'd say already. I was hoping to hear Patrice's thoughts instead. Did something happen? You look incredibly serious now. If you were to choose between Liam and Ryan, which one would you pick? Fuck! That question paralyzed me. Patrice, on the other hand, seemed confused. I know that you're close to both, and I wanted to know what you do when faced with this kind of question. Liam didn't tell Patrice the truth. I knew he didn't. He was hoping to spare the tiger from that unnecessary pain. I still don't understand. Why am I supposed to choose between them? Blake shrugged. It's a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that one of them crossed the line and did something terrible to the other. What would you do? I don't know. I could tell that Patrice was trying to make sense of this question and find the real motive buried behind it. Blake? Blake's eyes traveled back to me. You're picking Ryan no matter what, right? Or at least that's what I would assume. Hearing that annoyed me, because we spent most of our lives together. You can't ignore that the bias exists. I want to agree with what you're saying, but you're wrong. I sighed, my convictions wavering now that I was faced with such a straightforward approach. I can't choose. This isn't my choice. All I can do is let things play out. I'm going to support Liam for now, and depending on what their choice is, I'll act accordingly. This was the right thing to do, but I couldn't help being bitter, unsatisfied. It felt like running away. Are you really prepared to leave him behind? I chuckled. That was the easiest question to answer. No, I don't think I am. And that's why I've been hurting. Because there's nothing I can do. Because this isn't something I can erase. I don't have the power to make it go away. I couldn't fix this. It's going to stay and it's going to change everything. My voice cracked. There was more pain down this road we were walking. I'm scared of the consequences waiting in store for us. Patrice walked closer and gave me a worried look. Is this really hypothetical? His concerned tone reminded me that I might have gone too far. Yeah, sorry, I just really immersed myself in the question. It's difficult to accept that you won't always be the one in control. My face fell. That was nowhere near the truth I wanted. Sometimes others hold that power over you, there's nothing you can do. It has always been that way. You're telling me? There's one of those moments where when it's fine for Liam to have that control. But I was still trying to come to terms with that truth. There's nothing more self-destructive than falling in love. The wolf sighed and looked past us, at something further in the distance beyond the walls. All it takes is one person to change your destiny forever. And nobody knows what the outcome is going to be. Who is he referring to? Me? Ryan? Liam? I think I have the answer. I looked at him, then Blake. I was tired. I had enough of this. It's fine. You don't have to say it. He took the hint, but Patrice didn't. It's both. We froze. His response was enough to spark some curiosity. Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of choosing? It's not possible for him to keep both, not under these circumstances. No, it doesn't. That's always the right answer. I wanted to believe that too, but he wouldn't give me this answer if he had known. Keep going. The wolf was intrigued. I could see it in his eyes. They were open and fully aware. They were open. No, they aren't. That's because I know them, and saying both is exactly what they would say too. Liam would say that? Should he even say that now? Yesterday, Liam reached out to me. We spent most of the night together. He was serious. There was no space for him to act flirty about it. He told me lots of things, but also omitted the hard-to-swallow truths. He chuckled, but his body shivered. That's just how he is. Always looking out for the people he loves. I want to say something, but promise to keep it a secret, okay? He cried in my arms and blamed himself for everything that had happened. Doesn't that remind you of someone else? Then Patrice looked at me. I stood there, unable to respond. There was no need for me to say it. It was Blake who broke the silence first. I didn't expect to hear this answer from him. He laughed. I didn't think Liam would understand him. The pain they feel has to be similar if that's the conclusion he came to. I can't imagine that. That's because you've always managed to keep yourself together. Only the ones who have lost everything can understand, and you've never reached that stage. He was right. I hadn't seen the bottom. Life was tough, but I never allowed myself to fall to the depths of my mind. Because he was always there to help me. You can't understand hate without love. I wanted to. It bothered me that I couldn't connect with them. This is supposed to be a good thing. There was a stupid frown on my face that I struggled to take off. I know. We don't need all that. You know Ryan better than anyone else, right? I wasn't so sure anymore. What a witness lately proved to me that I actually didn't know him at all. I don't know. Don't say that. Are you going to destroy the time you two spent together? Of course not. And be confident and trust yourself more. I'm sure I'll find the right words when the time comes. It was endearing to see Patrice cheering me up without knowing the context. I wonder what kind of problem he believed I was going through. I hope so. This was one thing I wasn't going to ask of him. Don't stress about finding an answer without all the pieces required for it. I rolled my eyes. You are literally the one who brought this on me. Wolf leaned forward and crossed into my personal space. If I didn't, you would have missed such important evidence. I scoffed, placed my palm on his muzzle, and pushed him away. Shut up, I would have been better off without this. We both shared a short chuckle. I was hoping to get my thing done before Liam returns. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to take up so much of your time. We exchanged a few goodbyes and hurried outside. I'll see you soon. I didn't linger on that comment too much, but it sounded off. Patrice seated himself to access one of the few computers the library offered. Have you done this before? He opened an archive filled with book titles and generic news from the student's portal. I mean, I can try. I hunched down next to him and pointed at the screen, telling Patrice what to click. God, why is every school internet page always so terrible? Certain pages weren't loading, others led to the wrong place, and the interface was incredibly counterintuitive. I wish Alice was here, but I checked. She took a day off. I was well acquainted with the librarian, too. She gave the best recommendations. Well, it's not going to be impossible without her. But it's going to take a lot longer. We don't really have any plans for... My phone buzzed, and at that moment, I could only think of one person. Let me get this 1 second. Don't worry, I got this. I'm not an old lady. This computer's gonna do everything I say. Joe, this computer is doing nothing I say! His confidence waned the second he opened another page, and a confused look replaced it. Ah, what is this? I smiled and walked away. The computer is doing nothing that I say, Joel. I need help. I wanted to stay, but I couldn't take this call next to him, so I hurried to the closest place I could think of. I stared at my phone, a mixture of fear and disappointment washing over me. I figured that she would eventually call, but I wasn't ready to deal with the aftermath of Ryan's actions. This was a call I couldn't miss. I was forced to take it or it seemed suspicious. Mom? There was a lot of noise around her, so she wasn't home. Joel, sweetheart, are you okay? I held the real answer in. I'm fine. I didn't want to trouble her more than I already had. I just got off the phone from talking to Tessa, and I had to make sure you were doing okay. Was she on her way to the hospital? I see. She wouldn't go there on foot, would she? I'm feeling terrible. I just can't imagine what it's like for you. I took a deep breath. It's rough, yeah. I wasn't going to let the cracks show. I'd hold it in. They told me he drank one too many bottles. But is that really true? I told Liam that wasn't believable. It bothered me to lie, but the truth was much worse. I've known Ryan ever since he was a little cub. And I just don't see that in him. A whine escaped me. Just thinking about the past was enough to rub salt in my wounds. Tessa was very emotional and has said things about Ryan that I'd rather not repeat. That's the thing. They saw alcohol in his system. His mom must be devastated, but that sentence felt weird. What do you mean? She became quiet, a strange silence hanging over us. Didn't Ryan tell you? I could tell that she was trying to circle around the issue and stay vague. Tessa has always been quite harsh with him. I stared at the ground below me, the guilt hiding in me resumed brewing. That's why he stopped coming home recently. He... what? The more she spoke, the worse I felt. But you probably know that. I'm guessing he's staying over at your place. Or was he sleeping? Had he been sleeping in his car the whole time? Why wouldn't Ryan tell me? God. I hope he didn't drink that much on purpose. That comment snapped something in me. Anything but that. He wouldn't do that. Honey, it's fine. Don't blame yourself. I know you did all you could to help him. That wasn't true at all. I didn't see the signs. I didn't do anything. And now this guilt was consuming me. I'd like to come over tomorrow. Maybe we could visit Ryan together? I held my stomach. I could feel my insides twisting in pain. Mom, I don't know. I don't think I could handle that right now. My voice began to crack and my eyes were watering, but I was doing all I could to not break in front of her. I understand. I was told you spent the night by his side. I stayed quiet as I wiped off the tears with my sleeves. Then, let's just meet and have a chat. I can tell that you could use it. I already told you to leave me be, so please, Mom, I can't! My voice suddenly spiked and that caught me off guard. She didn't say anything, waited for me to keep talking. I don't feel like I can go around goofing off while Ryan is in bed unconscious. It feels wrong. Then I sobbed. It was the tiniest little sob that had managed to sneak past my efforts to seal the closet. Hey, Beanie. I need you to take a deep breath, okay? A tiny blush emerged from that mire of feelings I had created. She wasn't allowed to call me that anymore. I wasn't a child. Now I looked even more ridiculous, crying and smiling at the same time. Or I could head out right now and see you. I chuckled and immediately shook my head in response. No, I'm okay. I'm taking a deep breath right now. Multiple even. I'd do anything to keep it all to myself. Ryan would never want you to take the blame. You didn't do that to him. I disagreed. That wasn't anyone's choice but mine. I decided to share it with him. His burden was too big for one person. He did that to himself, but he's also a victim. I think Tessa should take responsibility for this, though. It all started from her. Ryan never felt safe at home. Always spending time at ours, remember? I sniffed. My nose felt stuck and I didn't have anything to get it out. We had so much fun. That's right. Focus on the good times. Make sure you tell him that too. When we feel lost and sad, it becomes easy to forget those. Bad memories like to stick around longer, since they like pranking us. Pranking us, huh? I love you, Mom. Hearts out for Joel's mama. Just hearts out for Joel's mama. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be. But if that's how you feel, then I forgive you. I smiled again, hearing that calmed me down. Thanks for acknowledging my guilt instead of trying to erase it. I'm gonna go, but I'll text you again later. I need to have a serious talk with that lady. Alright, I'll see you later. I moved the phone away from my face and stared at the screen. Yes, Beanie, please look after yourself. My eye twitched in response. Have mercy on me, Mom. It's gonna get easier after you stop saying that name! I yelled back and readied my finger. Sorry, you can't take away a mom's rights. I scoffed. This was another losing battle. I wasn't allowed to win against my mother. Whatever. But I was okay with that. I liked being a little dramatic sometimes. I still love you. Same. She ended the call and I kept staring at my phone. Then I felt a tissue being pushed against my face.
Here, wipe the weird stuff off your face.
I reluctantly accepted it while my mind was still going through hundreds of thoughts per second.
I don't know what it is, but it looks contagious to me.
Were you listening? He rolled his eyes, huffed, and scoffed.
Ugh. I bet this is all you've been doing ever since I left.
His reactions were insanely exaggerated. I could tell he was faking them.
Won't you ever get tired of thinking about Ryan?
Then he points at himself, demanding the attention I'd been giving the bear.
I told Patrice to keep you distracted. Did he even do that? You should ignore Ryan and give your attention to me.
There was an attempt.
Ryan needs to stop acting like a main character. What about me, huh? When is it my turn?
I understood what he wanted to say. It wasn't going to be easy, but I'd respect that choice. You're the one who left on an adventure with Clyde. I hope that was fun at least.
If by fun you mean that I'm gonna get killed a second time?
He placed his finger in a gun shape against his temple.
Then, yep. Super fun.
I moved it away. Was that really the first thing you said to me? He shrugged while hiding his mischievous smile.
I'm just telling you the truth with a little bit of spice mixed in.
I sighed. There was no energy left in me for jokes. Yeah, I think I'll have unseasoned food this time.
Fine, I'll give you the boring version.
He led us deeper inside and stopped at the same table Dylan had used a few days ago. His eyes started following us the moment we crossed into his personal space. Oh, hey, so you're here again. He didn't want us here. We were clearly disturbing him. Sorry for intruding. Liam shrugged and moved Dylan's belongings away to make space for his.
No, you're not.
The lynx answered on the crocodile's behalf and angered him further.
Yes, he is.
Enough fanfictions, we've got work to do now.
Dylan closed his eyes, channeled all the patience he could muster, and moved his book away. I feel like I'm in the way. Something suggested to me that Liam wasn't the biggest problem here.
That's because he's stubborn and refuses to do what I say.
I didn't know what he was talking about, but Dylan would make this everyone's problem.
Listen, if you're that bothered by Joel, then that man should introduce himself.
At the point, I felt another soul spiking in the distance toward the bookshelves in the corner. I didn't recognize it.
That way we can get over it and focus on what really matters.
I'm confused.
Just tell me what you want.
Well, for starters, I need to get this stupid investigation out of the way.
And Dylan can help you? He did seem to have a knowing look.
You know what I want.
Fuck off.
Aw, you're so protective of her, it's almost jarring to see.
Again, who?
The librarian.
I was told she's off today. He smirked and pointed at the crocodile.
He's got her number saved.
Dylan looked away from us, annoyed. Oh. Then the strange soul I was feeling in the background increased in size again.
We're friends.
Was Dylan causing that somehow?
Yeah, whatever you say.
I'm trying to piece it together myself. Is she important to the investigation?
You can't call her.
Liam sighed, placed his legs on top of the table, and looked towards me.
I'm making Joel call her instead. Is that fine?
Dylan lost some of his tension, but I gained it in turn. Huh? Why me? If Dylan's got her number, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to receive a call from him. He gave me that cocky grin of his.
I'm not doing that.
She's got a crush on him, and he likes that. He doesn't want to break her heart.
Oh, he's so evil. He's so evil. Hearing this softened me up a little. That's really cute, actually. I couldn't exactly tell if he reciprocated her feelings or not. At least he seemed to like her. That was good enough for me. Okay, but how are you doing that? With the soul? I looked at Dylan, who rolled his eyes.
That's not me.
The soul wasn't his? It made sense, though. The timing was perfect.
Come on, you can fucking sense him. Get him over here. That way I can actually discuss my plan.
I'd appreciate being told everything, yes. Then a cheetah suddenly appeared next to Dylan. I was drawn to his eyes, which had a charming look I'd never seen before. Oh my god, he has heterochromia. Only for his grin to ruin the magic by intimidating me.
Fine. I'm tired of eavesdropping anyway.
Yeah, that was a soul I sensed. It was sharp around the edges, but strangely soft toward the center. Hello, are you Dylan's friend? The cheetah didn't respond and it felt a bit awkward.
That's Mark. He works for Dylan, so technically he also works for me.
Liam did some sort of introduction, but the cheetah didn't seem to care.
I really hate the sound of your voice.
The lynx proudly pointed at himself again.
You just can't appreciate my refined vocal cords. My refined vocal cords.
I was trying to do a joke. All right, I'm gonna try that. All right, I'm gonna try that again.
You just can't appreciate my refined vocal cords.
Okay, that's the entire joke. I leaned closer and whispered into his ear. Is he jealous of a librarian flirting with Dylan? His ear twitched as he took every single word in, and then the lynx grinned.
Absolutely! You saw the way his soul reacted, right?
Stop frying my voice? What? Is this frying my voice? Is that frying my voice?
You saw the way his soul reacted, right?
I thought that was quiet enough, yet Mark's face showed me that he understood what we were saying. You wanna go? There's nothing easier than beating up two nerds. I couldn't take that threat seriously when his face was this red.
Shut up, I don't want to see it.
Dylan seemed to hate every second of this. Sorry, boss. Wow. His demeanor changed in an instant. Good submissive behavior. Very submissive and agreeable.
You have 5 minutes.
He took his phone out and began reading through a bullet list.
I need you to prepare all the supplies for tomorrow's exploration. Then I'd like to investigate for Patrice. The grandma down there is still struggling for a lead. Next, we got Blake's stupid mystery case. Joel will talk to the library and get me the info I need.
I still didn't agree to this.
All clear?
Mark scratched his head and then moved away from the table.
I'll take the first 2. Patrice is my favorite city boy.
Liam's soul reacted. That was rare.
You just want to get a free hookup.
None of your business, Pratt.
Then he pointed at himself, mimicking Liam.
Now get it done.
The lynx scoffed and hurled another snide remark at him.
You'll get more than that. Oh my god! Patrice, harder,
Get going.
Mark gave him a salute and prepared to leave at once. On it, boss! As I watched him go, many things about Mark left me confused. Sorry, I love using the auto-tune. I love using it. And I'm in a better mood now. Does he always call you that? Liam sighed and locked eyes on me.
Ugh, wish someone would call me that too.
That wasn't going to happen.
Don't embarrass me.
Dylan revealed his phone, tapped a few times, and forwarded me her number.
Choose your words carefully.
I raised my paws and refused. No, hold up a second. I never said I would. Liam looked at the number himself and typed it down.
You're literally the only one who can do it.
That's not true.
It is. Dylan doesn't give a fuck about this, and it wouldn't make sense to have him interview her. She'd never talk to me. Alice believes I assaulted her with that cat or whatever.
My ears perked up in response.
Wait.
I was starting to understand, but he wasn't giving me the time to catch up to him.
And Blake wants to be the nice cop. He's had her number all along, but refuses to hand it over.
That's not the whole story, but I figured you read it that way. We turned toward the staircase and saw Blake climbing up. Liam motioned for him to sit.
I was about to do this without you.
I'm still against the idea. The Lynx chuckled in response.
And that's why you don't know anything, you're just here to listen.
He dramatically placed a finger in front of his nose. Blake sighed, giving Dylan a sympathetic look. I'm sorry to see you taking responsibility for Liam. Dylan showed him a toothy smile.
Not the first time.
Then he gathered his things off the floor and stood up.
It's getting too crowded in here, I'm leaving.
Wait, I've got something else for you to do before you go.
He begrudgingly stopped moving, and an extremely amount of soul was now visible from the top of his head.
You just told me to stop by Russell's. Something strange caught his eye. Mind checking that out?
That news sure traveled fast. He cracked his fist. The patience timer had run its course.
You people must have missed the memo.
The more he spoke, the angrier he got.
This is supposed to be my day off. Said I'm working twice as much.
I'd be pissed too, probably.
You're not doing this out of the goodness of your heart.
He shot him another glare.
Shut up, I'm going. I'm allowed to complain all I want.
True, you love doing that.
He chuckled, watching him leave, and then got back to me.
So, ready?
No, I wasn't. Liam, even if I were to agree and call her, do you just expect me to assault her with questions? I lacked the proper motive to get involved in this investigation. I'm going to look like a creep. That was a best-case scenario. I agree. I'll get her statements when she returns. Liam placed his tarot cards on the table. I understood what he was trying to do, but Blake didn't.
I checked earlier. Using Joel is going to provide us with an important clue.
Blake's eyes opened.
You checked?
There was a degree of skepticism in his tone as he skimmed through the cards Liam had flipped over.
Aren't those cards just a toy? They're not real. Just like the signs, it's for fun.
Blinks turned back to me. He wanted my help to prove his point.
Joel, you just need to repeat exactly what I tell you to say. Can you do that?
Parroting didn't seem difficult. Unless he'd ask me to say something only Liam would say. God, I'm going to regret this, aren't I? I could feel the embarrassing crawling its way up to me already.
You let Liam convince you too easily.
If this is going to be helpful in some way, why not? I could tell he highly doubted that.
I really hope so.
Liam suddenly banged on the table, scaring me in the process.
It should have been me! I am the theater kid!
I can give you a performance worthy of an Oscar! I pinched the bridge of my nose, unamused. Look, I'm totally down with passing the torch to you.
I thought you always locked yourself in your room or something.
And? I don't see how that changes anything. Have you ever watched a live stream in your life, you and your boomer ways?
You only need to stay traditional. I could never be a streamer myself, but I respect the hustle. Blake crossed his arms and gave Liam a funny look.
I see. You're one of those clowns. Checks out.
I know it's long. Liam closed his fists in defeat, trying to be as dramatic as possible.
The sad life of an entertainer entails being misunderstood.
I know they played up on purpose, but I thought you hated the camera. He quickly regained his composure as if that never happened.
Oh yeah, but I love using an avatar. It's much better when people don't know what you look like.
Is he trying to say something? I don't know why, but I feel extremely called the fuck out right now. I feel called out. I feel called the fuck out.
Oh yeah, but I love using an avatar. It's much better when people don't know what you look like.
I've got other things to do. I'm just here for the call.
Do it. Press the mute button so I can tell you what to say as the conversation goes on.
Alright. I reluctantly did as I was told. I had a plan. I wasn't just blindly diving into this.
Alice is shy and introverted, so make sure you act the same way. That'll help her stay comfortable.
The phone dialed up her number and soon began ringing. I need to remind you that I'm not that different from her already.
Just give her a clumsy introduction.
That wasn't needed. She should remember you. I've seen you guys talking before. Yeah, Alice is really kind. Rang a few more times, then she picked up. What's Alice's voice? Oh my gosh, Chelsea? Is this the return of Chelsea?
Hello. Who's this?
Oh, hello, I'm Joel Kaysen.
Joel? My, that's surprising. I didn't expect you to come in now.
Me neither. I whispered back, then my eyes traveled to Liam.
Pardon.
Liam nudged me and I flinched. I quickly muted, listening to his suggestion, and resumed speaking. How are you? I stopped by the library to get some guidance, but you weren't there. She was supposed to be the uncomfortable one, but I completely stole that role from her.
Yeah, I didn't plan to skip today, but something came up.
I wanted to believe that she was the one trying to make me feel at ease instead.
I'm so sorry for not wanting to counsel about this.
Blake's expression changed, and I pieced together why Liam wanted him here. I'm not with the council, but I'm sure they'd understand. Then Liam told him to use my charisma, and I looked at him weird. Hang on, we're gonna roll for charisma. I rolled a 4. I got worried. It's not like you to disappear without a warning. The Lynx held back a chuckle, and I shoved him in response.
I appreciate you checking up on me. Who gave you my number, by the way?
I paused. Dylan?
Ah.
There was a second, longer pause. Is everything alright on your end? You mentioned something happened. Hopefully nothing bad.
I need to take care of a friend. She's not feeling well. I can still help you if you give me the book title.
I didn't know that part of the story yet. Really? I quickly looked at Liam for guidance.
Don't underestimate Kaysen. Don't underestimate me, Kaysen. I've read almost every book there in the past 4 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's not like that.
That's really cool.
You mean it?
Yeah. Did Dylan start reading because of you?
I can't say. He approached me first. So.
That's okay. I didn't mean to pry. Liam tapped my shoulder and showed me what he wrote down on a piece of paper. So the book should be titled The Meaning of You. Does that ring a bell? Totally sounded as if I'd been reading off a script.
My God! That's the book I've been reading.
Blake rolled his eyes, and I knew that Liam wanted to gloat right then and there. Is it a good one?
I almost finished it. It's amazing.
And heard shuffling and assumed she was looking for it as she spoke.
I'll go fetch it from my room. Give me a second.
I could hear tiny hooves moving across the wooden floor.
I'll return it tomorrow.
This sure is a big coincidence. I told her that, but I was saying it to Liam.
I believe it. You always pick the good ones.
Didn't feel right to receive that compliment, especially after cheating my way through this conversation. You're really nice. I'm not even that much of a book guy. She suddenly stopped.
I think. Wait a second.
Liam immediately walked closer and placed himself next to me, his ear leaning further into the phone.
This? Is your friend from campus? No. Why would that matter?
Was this what he wanted to hear? I couldn't hear much, only Alice's scattered comments. Oh my god, they're both locked the fuck in.
You should rest some more. You look really tired.
I felt their souls instead. Alice's was thin and graceful and slow. There was a certain flow to it that inspired peace. The other one was much darker and threatening. I could tell that this soul could feel us back. We simply recognized each other. That was what mediums did.
Alright, we can talk after I finish here.
Her voice was now much closer to the phone.
Joel, still there.
I snapped out of that trance-like state and answered back. Yeah, did you find it?
Yes, it was on my nightstand. I'll return it tomorrow. Sorry, I don't think I know much about all that.
That's completely fine. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to assist me.
I don't mind. You're a good friend.
Then there was another pause. Started to get worried. I could feel her from the other side. Did she figure us out?
Don't say anything about me.
I froze. Her hesitation made sense, but I couldn't deny it hit me hard. I'm not sure, sorry. The tension now gone, she gave me a soft chuckle.
That's very devil-like. I'll see you tomorrow then. Bye.
Forced myself to act as natural as possible for this one last response. Bye-bye. Seeing this call reach its end washed me with relief.
Interesting.
I honestly believe that I was meant to bring up the stray cat incident, but Liam never told me to discuss that. It made me feel much better. They were both lost in their thoughts. Different talents, different theories.
Come on, strong ears. Tell me what I couldn't hear.
Liam pulled out his poncho to hurry him up. I'm still processing. The wolf angrily snatched his poncho away from him and began walking back and forth. Definitely female voice. She sounded panicked till the phone call bothered her. Couldn't tell who the other person was, but that was important for sure. Something about how she's not supposed to be found out. Then he stopped and his head snapped back to Liam. Something clicked in his mind. You think?
She's involved.
Blake also needed to know what we had learned. The person, the one next to Alice, she was a medium? Liam nodded. I need time to think. He sounded uncertain. Something else he had yet to disclose was bothering him.
I already told you what you need to do if you want a better lead.
Liam poked him several times, disturbing his thoughts once more. I'm not going to Margaret.
You're so obsessed with following the rules when you clearly don't like doing that.
He scoffed. This sounded rehearsed. I could tell from the look Blake was giving him.
Break the rules for the right reasons instead. That way you'll feel less guilty about it.
They must have had this conversation before. You always give suggestions you don't follow yourself. The Lynx shrugged, ignoring Blake's smirk.
I mean, I just don't care. Guilt isn't something I have the luxury of feeling. But if you can afford to feel terrible for acting bad, then you're not as far gone as you claim you are.
He stared at him unfazed. Then he closed his eyes and gave him a soft chuckle. You can't lie to me anymore. I struggled before because I didn't have anything to compare it with. I thought about it, and there was only one possible explanation for this. But now I do, and I'll be honest. You push this so far, it comes across as edgy. Okay, I might be looking too much into this, but, right now, did Blake and Liam, did they, you know, did they? Fuck it. I'll just fucking say it. Did Blake take his... I don't know. Have you ever heard of hate sex? But now I do, and I'll be honest, you push this so far, comes across as edgy. What happened in the car the night before? Liam's behavior had drastically changed. He was invested, it was written all over his face. Traumatic experiences were tough to ignore. On the bright side, I understand you better now. And I can't help but wonder, why go through so much trouble?
That's not a question you can ask.
I agree. We'll give that answer to somebody else eventually, though. I'm thinking it's like a situation similar to BoJack Horseman. You know, like, when Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane, they're arguing, and then... You know what? I'll just put it in there. Diane... damn it. I can't find it. Yeah, I can't find it. I agree, but you'll give that answer to somebody else eventually, though. His eyes gave me a tiny glance. This is just food for thought, right? Liam didn't answer. Blake turned around, raised his paw to dismiss himself, and headed off. I'll think about it. That discussion was like a couple of layers deeper than I could comprehend. What was that about? Liam grabbed his phone and unlocked it.
Just two idiots messing with each other.
I watched him tap the screen a few times. Seemed a bit more than that, though. He stopped and gave me a disgusted look.
Don't place messing with being helpful, I'll throw up.
Raised my paws and he resumed typing. Okay, sorry, Dylan.
I'm fine, it's fine, I forgive you.
My stomach growled in response, giving Liam more clues as to what I had been doing today. Or hadn't.
Really?
He was definitely judging me for skipping lunch. I wasn't hungry! Lynx returned his phone to his pocket.
Perfect excuse to see Russell myself, I suppose.
Did you send Dylan over there?
Yeah, I got a text about it just now.
Liam stretched upward and yawned afterward.
But I could also use a break.
Then he moved closer and whispered in my ear.
I also wanted to talk to you, but I'd rather not do it here.
He seemed to be staring at the same bookshelves I had noticed before.
The eyes have multiplied lately.
That wasn't Mark? Maybe this one showed up after the cheetah revealed himself. Okay, let's get out of here. As we approached the saffron stash, I stopped in my tracks as I thought about what he told me before. It was so weird to hear you say that to me. I thought that was just a me problem. Liam turned around and pointed at myself. And I pointed at myself. He tilted his head to the side, watching me curiously. You know, the eyes. I felt self-conscious about this. It's not the first time I felt like I was being watched. Then his expression shifted to a serious one and moved past that shyness. I just brushed it off as people gossiping about me, about the scholarship. You just learn to ignore it, I guess. He shook his head and resumed walking.
There are other reasons to keep you under surveillance. I just don't know all the details.
Me? I paced quickly and caught up with him.
I told you I'm my boss today, didn't I?
With Clyde, apparently. That struck me as a bit weird, but I didn't give it too much thought before. Now that you mention it, why Clyde of all people? Was that a coincidence?
He's involved, super involved. You don't need to know. I pretend I didn't tell you.
Okay. I'm not happy about you keeping me in the dark.
Not telling you anything without him here. I'll share other important clues instead.
That's something, I suppose.
First, I'm certain your dad was a medium and used to work at the PMC.
That came out of nowhere. I struggle to believe it. My dad? Are you sure about this? We did discuss medium blood before, but...
My boss mentioned him in passing. Felt like they were close or something.
I scratched my chin. He looked hopeful and I felt terrible. I've got some bad news for you. He chuckled upon hearing that.
More? God, I just can't get enough of that today!
Dad disappeared when I was too young to remember. I don't know anything about him. His disappointment faded relatively quickly. Something I said must have caught his attention.
He also disappeared, huh?
He crossed his arms, repeating what I just said.
I
mean, I assumed he abandoned us and wanted nothing to do with Mom and me. We arrived at the saffron stash and Liam held the door open for me.
There's something I need to check, so maybe this is also a clue.
We walked inside and chaos welcomed us instead. All the tables had been flipped and there were chairs on the floor and glass shards from broken plates as far as the eye could see. Giant stains covered the carpets like big footprints that walked in a straight line from the counter to the entrance. Russell was bent over trying to clean this mess alone. What happened here?
Wow. Dylan wasn't kidding.
Russell stopped for a moment and instead of facing us resumed working. I had to deal with an annoying client. From the looks of things, this didn't seem like just one client to me. I'll clean this area and have you sit here while I finish the rest. I had a feeling he wouldn't ask us to help him, but I could never stand there and watch him. He looked so miserable.
Patrice saw sharks earlier today. Then Dylan said the place smelled like rotten fish.
And this is why I love Liam. Russell's soul briefly reacted, but he continued cleaning. Get to the point.
Ryan didn't save you just so you could go to die later, okay?
Oh, what is he talking about? How did we jump from sharks trashing the place to the possibility of dying so quickly? Ignore him, I'm not going to die. I didn't have enough information, just tiny pieces.
Doing nothing is basically the same thing.
But I was capable of hazarding a guess. This is about the restaurant's finances, isn't it? Russell stopped. I was on the right track. I didn't read the entire text message, but Dylan mentioned loan sharks, and at that point the story wrote itself. I looked at Liam, still unsure about the whole dying part. Russell sighed, reluctantly stopped cleaning, and seated himself at the table he was washing. Daniel sacrificed a lot for me. All I want is to keep his dream alive. That was sweet. Hearing him say it reminded me of my mom. He gave it all up to rescue me, and I couldn't stand that. I also wanted to make her happy. I understand, Russell. Really. I walked closer and forced our eyes to meet. But I think Daniel prioritized you over the restaurant. That's just something parents do. He loves you more than the saffron stash, and that's fine. Sometimes we can't decide what people want to do, even if those choices involve us. To him, seeing you succeed is just as new saffron stash. I thought that line sounded good in my head, but then it did a double take. Does that make sense? Russell stared at me and said nothing at all. That only pushed me further into the I fucked up zone. See? His eyes are open.
Poetic, kinda cute even, telling Russell that he's Daniel's new dream is fire.
I blushed after realizing that my message did come across the way I wanted it to.
But that one caught you off guard.
He nudged the bowl to force a response out of him. But yeah. His soul moved as well, but it was too subtle for me to read.
Do you even love this place, or do you only do it out of a moral obligation?
We waited. Russell seemed to struggle with that question. I genuinely don't know anymore. He looked around. A subtle smile appeared as he explored his surroundings. I think I like being here. Considering the mess he was looking at, he must like it to a degree. But it's been so long, I stopped thinking about it. He paused again, then his face shifted back to us, a much softer look replacing the usual seriousness. Can you help me clean up? Of course. I didn't mind it, but I could tell Liam loathed that.
You just said that the moment we walked in.
His soul didn't agree. I eyed Russell. You heard his thoughts too, right? You're free to ask Liam whenever you want.
You're playing a dangerous game, Joel. I will take you down with me.
He taunted me, pointed at himself, and then waited. But he misunderstood something very important. What? You'd think I'd be upset if we get to spend more time together? I thought we solved that issue 2 days ago. His prideful show gradually crumbled as he listened to me talk.
You didn't have to say it like that.
Okay, yeah, Liam's the bottom. He blushed and immediately started working. I found myself smiling. Yeah, he is the bottom. He is the permanent bottom. He is a bottom. He is a bratty bottom, in fact. I'm going to make a poll. And there is the poll. I found myself smiling. And what do you say? I need more time. He gave us another look. I want to save this place, but I don't think I can do it on my own. You just need those magic words. His face lowered and he stared at the dirty floor beneath us. Nobody should be helping me. Liam walked toward us with a mop he found nearby.
I bet Daniel doesn't know that either. Isn't this his restaurant in the first place?
Then he passed it over to Russell. You'll have to choose. It's either us or Daniel. The bull gently grabbed it off his paws. I can't answer that. I hoped he would pick a side. But I also understood his fear, the hesitation in wanting to take a step forward.
Let's focus on cleaning. You've done everything you could.
Alright. We spent the rest of our afternoon helping Russell clean the place before the meeting.
I am clearly not suited for the housewife role.
He collapsed onto a nearby chair and looked at me. Hey, I'd say that was some pretty good service. I grabbed the flying mop and gently placed it against the wall.
I don't even take care of my house as well as I did this place tonight.
I did hear a couple of thoughts about that. I shot Russell a concerned look. Should I be worried?
It doesn't smell that bad.
Make sure to bring an air freshener over. Oh my god, Liam's house smells like fucking Dorito dust. It smells like boy smell and Dorito dust. Liam smells like Cheeto fingers. Liam smells like Cheeto fingers and bad decisions. That is amazing. That is That is amazing. Russell, how do you know Joel's not into that? Make sure to bring an air freshener over. I might have to hire a cleaning service.
Enough. I can do it if I want to. But I prefer being the husband, you know, sitting on the TV, sitting on the couch, watching TV, ordering my wife around.
Liam? Lakritora, I am going to say this in the nicest way that I possibly can. You are a... Actually, no, let me lower my volume. You are a bottom. You are the wife. Joel, you are Joel's bitch. Okay, I'm done. You're a gamer, not a... I stopped when my brain came to a terrible realization. Actually, they're not that different.
Yeah, it's like the modern version.
He was giddy that we agreed. Stop being proud of that. He doesn't mean a single word of it.
Stop ruining the fun, Russell.
Sorry if that, thing was a little too loud. I'm sorry. The lynx sulked, sinking deeper into his seat. Making me feel disgusted and disappointed is not supposed to be fun. Because, like, I turned down the volume of my microphone. I turned down the microphone in my the volume of microphone. Was it very loud? Like, I'm horribly sorry if it was. Like, I'll turn it down in, like, post. Like, editing. I am so sorry. I am actually so sorry. Making me feel disgusted and disappointed isn't supposed to be fun. He continued melting, crossing his arms. He almost fell into the ground.
It's literally the closest I can get to a prank right now, so can you let me have this?
Fine, at least I consider this relatively harmless. Just weird. He immediately stood up and adjusted himself.
Not cursed enough? Damn. I need to turn it up.
I facepalmed in response. I didn't say you have to try harder.
I'm sure you did. Russell heard you thinking that.
The bull only offered a deadpan stare. No, I did not. Liam nudged him with his elbow, begging Russell to play along.
Don't get shy on me now.
That was never going to work. I'm not shy. Liam shrugged.
Fair, you're like the extreme opposite.
Then he grew quiet, making a serious look across his face as he stared at the counter in front of us.
I think it's time we discuss the castle now that we're all done cleaning.
A deafening silence washed over Russell and I. I knew this was coming and that it couldn't be postponed any longer. You mentioned it this morning, but I didn't take you seriously. Are you sure about this? Russell shot me a worried look. Continuing the exploration after what happened to Ryan is... I shook my head, gently asking to stop there. It's okay, I get it. I'm sure that Liam wants to press forward regardless, but I also know that we're now obligated to keep going. I see.
The curse didn't manifest today because Ryan tanked the hit for all of us, but it won't stop unless we go back and take it down for good.
Dylan said that slime is still hiding inside Ryan's body. Ryan passed out before he could get it all out.
There's a chance for him to lose control again. I don't know a lot about possession, just that it's really bad overall.
And to take the slime out, we need...
The curse has to go. Kill the castle, kill everything involved with it. You're not just exploring for my sister anymore, we're going back to make sure Ryan survives.
Is that holy water not good enough anymore?
It does, but the law of consent stands in our way.
The what now? I was hoping we weren't thinking of the same thing.
When both parties agree on something, the end result is better.
Doing something against your will creates a bad product. And forcing it creates garbage.
Correct. This reflects on our souls as well. Which is why they take it slow, wearing you down until you're incapable of fighting back. It's a form of torture.
It won't always lead to a clear consent, but I get the gist of it. Nia did that to me. And then she asked to search my memories. Did Ryan consent to this somehow? Liam stopped, unsure of what he should be saying to us. It was a frightening question, the kind I couldn't bear asking. But now, standing in front of us, and I didn't want to ignore it. Liam, please say it. I wanted to know. It doesn't matter how bad it'll be. I wanted to know all the things I couldn't understand, all the things that led to this.
It starts as threats, since a ghost has nothing to lose if the body breaks.
That was... awful to hear. It was okay with killing Ryan on the spot.
It was either him or Russell, and at that point the sign was already in him. He had to submit to survive.
He was coerced into consenting. but that line blurred along the way as he fed Ryan his own darkest thoughts. I see. I'm sorry, Joel. If I had known. I felt his hand on my shoulder and I pushed it away. Enough what ifs. We need to focus on what we can do now. I wanted to channel my grief into something else and use that to fight back. Right.
Then help me convince the others first.
The curse demanded our return, and that included all of us.
I don't want any more victims.
I didn't want to see a soul as dark as Ryan's again either.
They'll wait in the safe room.
That seemed like the best way to handle this, while the experienced pairs dealt with the issue. Liam, what's going to happen now that I've lost my partner? Right, he couldn't explore on his own. Russell needed a replacement.
Someone will have to stay behind and wait in the safe room. I'd like to keep only 2 pairs active while the others wait.
I figured he'd say that. I'm not staying put.
I know.
Then I'll see what Blake has to say. I don't mind taking his place and pairing with Dylan.
Sure.
Russell, I owe Ryan that much at least.
I'll do my best to get it all done in one night. If not, well, I should be capable of making stronger charms once I learn more about the castle.
I'm not making Ryan wait any longer.
I'll do my best then.
The doors swung open and some of our friends walked in. We agreed to wait for everyone to arrive, but seeing them all here in front of me forced me to acknowledge the curse in its entirety. Liam's charms wouldn't hold. Remember, consent is important. Forced consent is not consent. No is a complete sentence. Especially when the soul produces more energy. This was a funeral. I could see on everyone's faces that they knew exactly why we were here and that they wanted nothing to do with this castle anymore. They were afraid. What happened yesterday, what happened to Ryan, it completely sunk in.
I'm sorry this was never meant to happen. I'll take responsibility for what happened to Ryan. But please, I need you to listen to what I have to say or the situation will only worsen.
He was practically begging. I had never seen Liam do that before. It was unfair for him to take the blame for Ryan's actions. You already have my thoughts on the matter. I still think you're at fault, but we were the ones who volunteered.
You should have listened to me and kept everyone out of this mess.
I couldn't. I'm more certain now that things would have gone worse without them.
I don't believe that.
This is irrelevant. We're all here now, and we have to work together. So it's true? They have to go back no matter what?
Because of this curse or whatever, that will get us killed otherwise.
Basically.
Then Liam told them what he had shared with Russell and me.
You want to take my place. I don't mind waiting.
I could tell the wolf wanted to include everyone in that statement.
I can't do that. If you guys are out there fighting, then I should too.
Patrice refused the offer and looked the opposite way. I need to apologize in advance, Blake. The dragon moved closer to Patrice, making his opinion on this matter clearer to Blake.
I know that look, but you're not going out to buy groceries this time, Clyde.
Blake scoffed. His eyes were fully open now, and they were staring at the dragon.
This is serious business. You could get hurt or worse.
Clyde looked intimidated by him. I know. But that didn't seem to be enough to keep him away from the suicidal plan.
Why are you so adamant in joining them anyway? What's tying you to Patrice?
Patrice's eyes widened, then an uncomfortable look settled in.
Oh, that's...
The tiger instinctively turned toward Liam, who quickly waved him off.
Go ahead, get it out.
Well, I thought it would be inappropriate now.
He started slowly. With a shy response, I grew more confident the longer Patrice spoke.
Yeah, it's about Liam's sister. Her name is Nia Pratt, and we used to date for a couple years before she disappeared.
Oh, I see. That clears up a few things I didn't understand.
He took a deep breath and stared back at Clyde.
I'm down to provide any help that doesn't involve fighting.
Then his eyes retreated into hiding again.
I recommend everyone else to do the same, but I don't expect every one of you to follow my advice.
It was surprising how many of us were okay with throwing hands. I also wish to avoid starting a conflict.
But it can't be helped this time.
Took you too long to figure it out.
Is that helping hand still available? There's something only Blake can do. I need to draw the monsters that we met last night.
The wolf's generous offer was already collapsing.
This feels anything but useful.
Consider this a commission.
Blake pinched the bridge of his nose.
Of course you'd phrase it like that.
That's how you say it online.
And that's how you shouldn't say it in real life.
Clyde wanted an explanation, but I was just as confused. Is there supposed to be a divide between the two? I understood that completely.
Let's just say what happens on the internet should stay on the internet. You guys are a pain in the ass.
The crocodile raised his voice, growing increasingly frustrated.
Now I need information on the castle, not this stupid nerd shit.
Oh, yes, forgive me. Shall I reveal what I discovered today? Yes, go ahead, please. We found its origin point. a medieval castle that is dated all the way back to the golden age of our city, and the history books named it the Moonlight Castle, because of the way the moon shines on top of it.
That doesn't offer a lot. Only why it vanishes during the day.
It was given a different name after falling to its curse, the Castle of Growth. Documents related to its creator seem to have been lost to time.
But this is more helpful than you think. It could be related to the requirement I mentioned before, and if it is, it might clue me in on a way to purify the curse.
I'm relieved that we're not walking into this completely blind.
I have a couple of theories I wish to test. Hopefully I'm right.
Growth. Does this imply that the castle is expanding? It could also refer to us, the people who enter its territory. Why would they care? We don't know.
I'll punch my way through like I always do.
We spend the rest of the night sharing information about the monsters we encountered for Blake, and describe what we met during said exploration. Everyone but me met 2 monsters instead of 3!
The correct term is pillar. They're created by... actually, the correct term is pillar. They're created by the curse to manage intruders. But this is my first time encountering autonomous beings. Whole place is an anomaly.
Russell served us food as we continued working on a plan. I really made the aim go,
Actually...
I think I laughed like a fucking hyena. Secretly, a hyena? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Russell served us food as we continued working on a plan. So, you need to understand what created the curse in the first place to find a way to break it.
Yeah.
I hate when I have to pretend to give a fuck.
I was growing tired. Is there anything else you want me to know? Yes! I made him raise his finger! He did the whole...
Actually...
Is there anything else you want me to know?
I think I've covered the most important points.
Then I'll be the first one to retire. We'll exchange some goodbyes and I walked out.
Wait for me!
He yelled and I saw his ears peeking from the doors. He was still facing the saffron stash, saying something that I couldn't hear properly. What's wrong? I thought you'd want to stay with him. Then he turned toward me after hearing my question.
Can I walk you home? There's one more thing I wanted to share with you.
He moved closer and I matched his pace as we strolled toward my apartment. Yeah, of course. Anything to make me feel less lonely, I guess. I looked at his car again, still parked exactly where I saw it today. Ryan usually keeps me company around this time. We tend to share a day and stuff. I reached for my left arm and began scratching it. But I guess we haven't done that for a couple of days now. This was a subtle form of guilt manifesting into itchiness. I'll have some catching up to do. He stared at me at what I was doing and shoved his paws into his pockets.
Joel, I'm really sorry about what happened.
I slowed down, a mixture of confusion and annoyance hitting me at the same time. Why are you saying this again?
I thought you regretted choosing me that night.
He was still carrying those words and they were holding him down.
It's obvious that things would have played out differently if you had just ignored me.
No, Liam, I don't blame you for this, and I'm sorry if I gave you that idea yesterday. I was emotional too, and I didn't mean it. I took a deep breath and continued. I was running away. I couldn't face my guilt. I said I'd share that burden with Ryan, and I immediately failed to do so.
You don't have to. There's no burden to begin with.
Hearing Liam say that was making me emotional again. Liam. That was the same conclusion Blake had reached.
Listen to me, there's one thing you can do for us, something that will greatly help our situation.
I pushed the stupid feelings away into my personal closet. There is.
Yeah, but you're not gonna be happy about it.
I chuckled and gave Liam a tiny shove forward. Hey, you literally cannot make this work. It's impossible for you to get remotely close to doing that. He ignored me and jumped straight to the point.
Don't visit Ryan tomorrow.
I paused. That was a weird request. I landed into a territory I couldn't define. That's it. I mean, it would make me a little sad, but it's not as bad as I expected it to be. He could feel my hesitation, and I also had my fair share of doubts about this demand. After all, I did tell Ryan I would return.
Just promise me that no matter what happens, you will not get in touch with Ryan.
Liam was pleading, and I didn't want to let it go that far. I'll do it.
Any form of contact is forbidden.
And this will help Ryan?
I think so. I can't see that far ahead. I just know that spending time apart is the best way for both of you to heal.
I didn't want him to think poorly of me. I cared a lot. Maybe now that love was getting in the way.
I will allow you one get well soon card. I'll deliver it myself.
He chuckled, hoping to get me out of the swamp of emotions, but I latched on to something else instead. So, you'll be visiting Ryan instead? He gave me a brief look and sat on his answer for a while longer.
Maybe, maybe not. I could always send Dylan.
My fears were pouring into him. I didn't feel safe having Liam visit Ryan all alone.
Someone needs to get his car to the hospital.
But he smiled at me. The links didn't seem worried in any way. And I didn't want to stand in the way if he had already decided to go himself. True, sorry for, well, making you go through so much trouble. This should have been me. And I found myself being pushed forward. It was sudden and unexpected.
Nah, it's fine. Let's just say I've got business around the area.
But I most likely needed this. That step forward I was looking for.
You could just wait for me at the saffron stash, or should I knock on your door and walk you there?
I smiled back at him. There's no need, but thanks. I wasn't supposed to make him work harder, as his plate was plenty full.
Too bad, I would have done it. You missed your chance, now you never get it back.
Yup, I'm inconsolable. And with my apartment complex now inside, I walked faster and unlocked the front gate.
Seems like we've arrived.
There was a veiled sadness buried beneath those words. Yeah. The Lynx walked backward, his eyes still glued to me.
I'll head back now, to see if there's still at the saffron stash.
His voice was growing weaker the more he spoke.
Gotta get Clyde to show up earlier.
I knew he was pushing himself too hard again. Yes, that'd be nice.
Good night, Joel.
He turned around and went back on the road we had just walked. Liam? Lynx stopped, his ears perked up in response. Take care, okay? You're clearly tired. I couldn't see his reaction, but I knew he understood. You also need to rest.
Hey, Will, I got this. Now get in your apartment and do whatever boys do when they're stressed.
He just had to say some stupid shit right at the last moment. Idiot. He laughed at me in the way I was looking at him. And that made me feel reassured, in a way. I believed in him. Good night. He said the same and I closed the door behind me. Fuck. Fuck. Oh my god, that was a lot. Like, it was great. Gee, thank you, game, for rubbing salt into the wound. I really fucking appreciate it. Oh, this game fucking hates us. Yeah, it's like 12 for me also, but no, it's like still not the longest stream. That honor belongs to Soul Creek. Cough, cough, 4.5 hours. I was exhausted by the end of it. Okay. Stay safe. Have a good night. Gonna squeeze those soggy bitches, and I will see you all tomorrow.